Hey everybody, on today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, the future of the stadium. I know we've talked about this for years, but there is some movement in the long-standing debate over a possible new home for the Bills. Plus, requiring vaccinations. We've looked at the legalities of businesses and schools doing it, but can you require that workers who come into your home have the shots as well? Our Verify team is on that. And an eagle rescued in downtown Buffalo. We're going to be talking with somebody from the Erie County SPCA about an unusual patient they picked up in the heart of the Queen City. And good evening to you, everybody. Kate is off. She'll be back with us tomorrow. Over the last few years, there's been almost as much talk about the future of the Bills Stadium as about the Bills team itself, at least before we started returning to the playoffs. We've been waiting for a while on this study that the Bills commissioned looking at the possibility of a new place to play or renovating the current stadium in Orchard Park. And we have some new developments to share with you. Pagula Sports and Entertainment put out a statement saying that the organization met with state and county officials to share the results of this study they've been working on. Interestingly, PSE mentioned that the discussion also included talk of arena projects in the county. That seems to open up the possibility of renovations to the KeyBank Center as well. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz' office says the meeting did take place, but wouldn't comment on anything that was discussed. So what to make of all this? Joining us live right now is Dan Miner, who has reported extensively on the stadium issue with our partners at Buffalo Business First. Dan, it's great to see you again. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So the statement that we got yesterday was pretty vague, didn't tell us a lot. I'm not sure that we should have expected to learn a lot, but can you kind of walk us through, for those of us who haven't covered this as closely as you have, what was the point of this study, what they hope to learn, and what, if anything, we can kind of read between the lines in terms of that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to start with the study, the Pagulas have had an outside commissioned themselves an analysis of the facilities of the sports teams that they own in Buffalo, including, of course, the Bills and the Sabres. After that was done, they had to go back during the pandemic and all of the international economic tumult and the way that it affected, not only their own businesses, but also the sports leagues in which they're a part. So I think we've all been kind of waiting for the presentation of that study because there's been no public indication of what's in it. Is it sort of a list of preferences, or is it a definitive roadmap for how they want to proceed? This is the first indication, the Pagula statement, that they're starting to air out their plans for how to go forward with the partners in government that would be expected to contribute financially, both the New York State and Erie County. And so, pulling apart what was actually said in that statement, it sounded like what they were saying was that they're having a conversation about a conversation that's about to happen. So they're kind of getting their ducks in a row to start serious negotiations over the county-owned facilities, KeyBank Center and Highmark Stadium, and it sounds like imminently the serious people. Financial, operational, and legal people are going to get around the table and start hammering out what a new Bills facility project might mean.
Yeah, we'll have to see if anything leaks out either from the state, from the county, or within the Bills organization. I mean, everybody would like to see what's in that report or in that study that they commissioned. Sports generally right now, Dan, are in a pretty interesting place with the financial challenges you mentioned from the pandemic. A lot of restrictions still in place. I know earlier this week, Kim Pagula, one of the owners of the Bills, had made mention that she doesn't really have a full understanding right now of what it's going to look like when we get fans in the stands this fall. What kind of impact does that have on the timing of making these kinds of decisions? I think you mentioned it's already kind of delayed things a little bit. How do we see that moving forward?
Yeah, thinking about the timing of this is interesting. I mean, these are all unique moments that don't really have, because of the individual levers involved, they don't really have precedence. You can't look to 2013 or 1999 and use them as you would like maybe an annual budget last year for how this is going to go going forward. But I would say that, if you look at like sort of the broad economic headwinds, the economy in both Buffalo and in the country is showing measurable improvement. The Bills on-field product is as exciting as it's been in most people's lifetimes, or at least in the past 30 years. and you're talking about a lot of fan interest in buying what the Bills are selling, so to speak, including tickets to the actual games. So it feels like there's a certain sort of moment here where or a sense of momentum regarding the business of the Bills, where it might be time to come to the table with some leverage if you're on the Pegulas or the league side.
We mentioned that the arena in the Cobblestone District downtown also part of that statement yesterday. Is that a new development, or is that something that had kind of been implied was part of these discussions all along? I think that kind of caught some people by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a new development. No, the Pegulas and the county have been open about the age and condition of Keybank Center for a couple of years now, and certainly I think at some point, we can expect a project there as well. I think the issue comes in terms of the public imagination in Buffalo. The Bills Stadium project takes absolute primacy, not only over the condition of Keybank Center, but above almost any other economic or social issue in Western New York. So if that's mentioned, and that's what people are going to talk about, even though it's funny. I mean, any news organization in Buffalo worth its salt is trying as hard as they can from the people who actually have influence over this to get any information. And, basically all we know is what the Pegulas wants to know right now.
Yeah, I sent some texts on that front today. I'm sure you did as well. Finally, Dan, what can we learn from what is happening at other NFL stadiums in the league, as far as teams out there that are building or asking for new stadiums, their costs, the public part of it versus the private part of it? Are there any trends elsewhere across the country that you think could impact what ultimately happens here?
Yeah, well, I think the question, the way I would frame it is this way: what does the league want out of Buffalo? Well, first of all, they want to boost the value of the Bills via a project that has significant, public input. But they also want a game day experience that lasts much longer and extracts much more revenue from the people involved than the current stadium does. So, I mean, what's going on in the league with these projects? The point of them is to pull people in earlier, to get them to spend more money on retail and restaurant and bar amenities, and even hospitality, even hotels, and hopefully keep them later. And the Bills right now is a hang out and have a couple beers in the tailgate at most for most people. Go in there and then make your way out, kind of a situation. What they would be proposing for a new project is a much more holistic, day-long or multi-day experience.
Might be more than just a couple beers, but I get the point that you were making there. We've been speaking with Dan Miner. Yeah, exactly. We've been speaking with Dan Miner, reporter for Buffalo Business First. You can check out Dan's reporting on this topic and a whole lot more at bizjournals.com. Dan, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks again for having me.
All right, great to see you. Let's turn to the vaccines now. And if you go by the questions that we get to our verified team, one of the most confusing things for people about vaccines has been who can require proof of immunization and in turn, who can request proof of it. That is at the center of one of the questions that our team is looking into concerning in-home services like cleaners and tutors. Ann Allred has a verified answer for us on that.
Our question, can you ask people performing in-home services to be vaccinated? Our source, Anna Rutschman, a professor at St. Louis University who specializes in health law and FDA policy, and Brian Kammer, an employment law attorney at McCarthy, Leonard & Kammer. Both experts agree you have the right to ask the company or the independent contractor to send a vaccinated person to your home to perform the service.
I think the individual homeowner has a lot of discretion in determining, who they let in their house. They're literally the king and queen of their own castle.
But the company or the independent contractor has no obligation to agree to your request. If they refuse, you have two choices: either hire them anyway or find someone else.
I have the rights to begin with, and the option to say, well, I'm going to allocate my dollars elsewhere since you're not doing this.
So what if they do agree to send over a fully vaccinated person? Can you ask for proof and request to see the person's vaccine card?
It's a little bit of a gray area, but right now nobody's going to get in trouble for either saying, show me your card, or saying, I'm not showing you my card.
Our experts say the answer to this question could change as more legislation and case law is developed. But for now, there is no real legal framework dictating the who, when, and why someone can ask to see your vaccine card.
All right, interesting stuff. And Allred, thank you. Coming up on our town hall, it is air conditioner season again. Maybe not this Friday, but soon after. And the pandemic is having an impact on what you're paying for services for this. We'll look into that and have some advice for you just ahead as the town hall rolls on this Wednesday.